I didn't argue when Sloan Harrington texted me, "I need space for us. Don't contact me." I just stared at the message, read it twice, and felt something inside me go completely still. Because it wasn't the words that hurt the most, it was how easy it seemed for her to say them. We had just finished renovating the house in Greenwich, Connecticut. We had just signed the final paperwork. We had just started talking about what came next. And now, suddenly, she needed space. No explanation. No timeline. Just distance. I typed one word. Okay. And for the first time in a long time, I chose not to chase her. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was loud in a different way. It made me notice things I had ignored for months. Like how often she had been busy lately. Like how quickly she would turn her phone away when I walked into the room. Like how conversations had slowly turned into updates instead of connection. I didn't call her. I didn't text her again. I didn't break the rule she had set. But I did something else. I changed the locks. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. But because for the first time, I realized something uncomfortable. This wasn't our space anymore. It was mine. Her message made that clear. And if she wanted distance, then I would respect it fully. The locksmith came the next morning. Quiet, professional, efficient. He didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer answers. By noon, the house felt different. Not emptier, just clearer. Like a line had been drawn that I should have seen a long time ago. That night, I sat alone in the living room, surrounded by furniture we had picked together. And for the first time, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like truth. 3 days passed. Then my phone lit up. Sloan was calling. I let it ring. She called again and again. Finally, a text came through. "Why can't I get inside the house?" I read it slowly. No greeting. No explanation. Just confusion. I replied, "You said you needed space." There was a pause. Then another message. "That doesn't mean you lock me out." And that was the moment something clicked. Because to her, space meant freedom for herself, not boundaries for me. Before we go further, tell me this honestly. If someone asks for distance, do you think they still get full access to your life? Or does that change everything? Her next message came quickly. "This is ridiculous. I'm coming back tomorrow. We need to talk." I didn't answer immediately. I looked around the house again, at the decisions we had made together, at the future we had quietly built without saying it out loud. And I realized something even deeper. She didn't leave because she needed space. She left because she thought I would stay exactly where she left me. Waiting. Available. Unchanged. The next day, she showed up, standing outside the door like she still belonged there. I opened it, but I didn't step aside. She looked at me like she didn't recognize something. Maybe because for the first time, I wasn't trying to fix the moment. "What is this?" she asked. "A boundary," I said. She laughed, but it wasn't genuine. It was defensive. "You're overreacting." "No," I said calmly. "I'm reacting differently." That sentence hit harder than I expected. Because I wasn't angry. I wasn't emotional. I was clear. And clarity is something people don't expect from you when they're used to your patience. She stepped closer. "You really changed the locks?" "Yes." "For what reason?" "For the same reason you asked for space." She didn't respond immediately. And for the first time, I saw uncertainty in her expression. Not guilt. Not regret. Just loss of control. "I didn't mean it like this," she said. "I know," I replied. "That's the problem." Silence settled between us. And in that silence, the relationship finally became honest. Because this wasn't about space. It was about imbalance. She wanted freedom without consequence. And I had been giving it to her for too long. She took a step back. "So what now?" That question felt heavier than anything else she had said. Because for the first time, she was asking instead of deciding. And that shift mattered. I looked at her, at everything we had been, at everything we could have been, and I realized something simple but difficult. Not every relationship ends because someone stops loving you. Sometimes it ends because they stop respecting the version of you that loves them. "I think," I said slowly, "we figure out what space actually means." She didn't argue. She didn't push. Because for the first time, she didn't know how. And that's when I understood something that changed everything. It wasn't the locks that changed our relationship. It was the fact that I was finally willing to close the door. She didn't leave that day. She just stood there on the other side of the doorway, like she was trying to decide whether this was still her life or not. And I didn't rush her. I didn't invite her in either, because for the first time, I wasn't trying to control the outcome. Sloane Harrington exhaled slowly, like she was recalibrating. "This isn't you," she said. I almost smiled, because that was exactly the point. "You're right," I replied. "It's not." That answer unsettled her more than anything else I could have said. She crossed her arms, a habit I knew too well. A defensive posture disguised as composure. "So what now, Carter?" she asked. Hearing my full name, Carter Whitfield, and her voice again felt different. Less familiar, more formal, like we had quietly become strangers without saying it out loud. "You said you needed space," I said. "So take it." She frowned. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" The question hung there, heavy, unavoidable, and for the first time, she didn't have an immediate answer. Because space had never been clearly defined. It had just been convenient. "I just needed time to think," she said finally. "About us." "Yes. And you needed to disappear to do that?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me more than her words ever could. Because thinking doesn't require distance. It requires honesty. Before we go further, be honest with yourself for a second. If someone disappears to think, do you believe they're really thinking about the relationship? Or was something else entirely? Sloane stepped closer again. Not past the threshold, but close enough to feel like she wanted to cross it. "I didn't expect you to react like this," she admitted. "I know," I said. That sentence landed quietly, but it carried weight. Because expectations had been the foundation of everything between us. She expected patience. I expected commitment. She expected flexibility. I expected clarity. And somewhere along the way, those expectations stopped matching. "Can I come in?" she asked. It was a simple question, but it wasn't simple anymore. Because this wasn't about a door. It was about access. And access means something very different once it's been questioned. I stepped aside, but not fully. Just enough to let her enter. Not enough to pretend nothing had changed. She walked in slowly, looking around like she was seeing the house for the first time. Or maybe like she was realizing it didn't feel the same anymore. "Everything's the same," she said quietly. "No, Olivia, it's not." She turned to me, and in that moment, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not confidence, not control, uncertainty. "I didn't cheat on you," she said suddenly. The statement came out of nowhere. Or maybe it didn't. Because sometimes what people deny first is what they think you're already suspecting. "I didn't say you did," I replied calmly. "But you thought it." I didn't answer, and my silence did what words couldn't. Because it forced her to sit with the possibility that I wasn't as unaware as she believed. She looked away first. "I just needed to breathe," she said. "And you couldn't breathe here?" It felt heavy. That word stayed with me. Heavy. Because relationships don't become heavy overnight. They become heavy when things go unsaid for too long. When expectations are carried instead of communicated. When one person starts pulling away and the other pretends not to notice. "I didn't realize it got to that point," I said. "That's because you always try to fix things," she replied. "And you always avoid them," I said back. The truth didn't sound aggressive. It sounded tired, and maybe that's what made it real. She sat down on the edge of the couch, the same spot she used to sit every evening. But now it felt like a different version of her was sitting there. "So what are you saying?" she asked. "I'm saying this isn't about space," I said. "It's about direction." She looked up at me. "In what direction do you think this is going?" That question wasn't emotional. It was practical, and that made it more serious than anything else she had said. Because practicality means decision, and decision means consequence. I said slowly, "we stopped moving in the same direction a while ago." Silence followed. Not the uncomfortable kind. The final kind. The kind where both people understand something at the same time, but neither wants to say it first. She nodded slightly. "I didn't want to admit that," she said. "I know, because if I admit it, then I have to accept it." "Yes." She exhaled again, and this time, it sounded like something leaving her. Not stress, not anger, denial. "I thought asking for space would give me clarity," she said. "And did it?" She looked at me, really looked this time, and then she said something that changed everything. "No." That answer was honest, but honesty doesn't always fix things. Sometimes it just makes the ending clearer. She stood up. So what happens now? There was again the same question, but this time it felt different, because now it wasn't about control. It was about acceptance. I took a breath, and for the first time since her message, I didn't feel confused. I think we stopped pretending this is temporary, I said. Her eyes didn't fill with tears. She didn't break down, because some endings don't look dramatic. They look understood. She nodded. Okay. That word felt heavier than anything else in the entire conversation, because it wasn't agreement. It was acknowledgement. She walked toward the door, slowly, not because she didn't want to leave, but because she knew this time she actually was. She paused before stepping out. Carter, yeah, you didn't change when I asked for space. I waited. You just stopped being who I was used to. I didn't respond, because she was right. And sometimes the most honest thing you can do is not argue with the truth. She left, and this time I didn't watch her go, because closure doesn't always come from seeing someone leave. Sometimes it comes from finally understanding why they had to.